Gamers! Wait, where am I? I'm here. Trust me, where am I? There it is. Hello, everyone. It's Vasco Prola. Fresh from work, eating a piece of pizza. How is everyone doing tonight? I'm saying, while aggressively horfing on the slice of pizza. We got some vibes today. Now that I'm done eating my pizza for the time being. Basically what the plan is. Hey, yo, is that the Boss Cliff here on their lunch break? That's pretty pog, man. Pretty pog. Oh, hell yeah. Oh, that's super nice. Okay, cool. Awesome. Sorry, I just realized that my plugin updated so I can actually change how my dark mode looks on docs, which is important because today we're gonna be doing some more world building. So I had to take a little slurp. So yeah, we're gonna be doing some more world building today. I have like a bit of an agenda. Basically, here, let me switch over to the screen. To the writing. There we go. So the agenda is this so far. Basically, what we're gonna do is that we're going to try and finalize the things about like the soul, as well as like world souls. So I've been doing some thinking off stream. I know, criminal, right? And then we're gonna try to actually start building a setting with these rules in mind, including like the magic and the world itself, hopefully. So, that being said, here's my proposal, everybody. I have been putting some thought into the mechanics, right, of the setting. And there are a couple things I want to touch upon. For instance, right, soul theory. I want to declare a couple of things, right? So here, let me immediately start out by doing a bit of heading to, right? So let's do cognitive essence. Right, so cognitive essence. I want to kind of clarify a couple things about cognitive. Yeah, let me write this out, right, and then I'll read it out. So, cognitive essence. Also, I may have implied. I was talking to my friend Selfin about this, and I may have made some implications. Also, speaking of Selfin, let me text him real. I don't know if he wanted to watch. There we go. So, cognitive essence is the bridge between the metaphysical and the physical, and a two-way of interaction where the physical by the ritual and the by the like. So basically, here, let me write this out. this oh, can occur where soul realizes correct, such as a bone, cuts, etc., and then with the body in error. All right. So basically, what this is implying is that the cognitive essence is the bridge between the physical and the metaphysical. And there's it's a two-way form of interaction, specifically where the physical can it's where basically like the physical thing can change the spiritual, and the spiritual can change the physical, and is more or less how healing can happen. So like, for instance, um if there's like a broken bone, cut, gun wound, stab, whatever may occur, it is the soul realizing that there is something that is incorrect with the physical, and then the physical begins to work to try to make that correction. That being said, there are a few things that cannot be changed. So, for instance, if an arm gets cut off, that is too much for the body to like remake. So, if someone is missing an arm and you look at their spirit, they may still have that arm, right? Which also may explain things like phantom limbs and stuff like that. Using this logic. Now, here's where it may get a little spicy. When two cog essence are nearby one another and have trust, their cognitive essence can resonate. Subconscious work. All right. Here's what I'm proposing here, and here's like the potential crazy thing. Basically, he also I'm gonna take a little bite real quick. All right. So basically the big thing is that cognitive essences are the bridge between the physical and metaphysical, right? So when two beings are trusting of one another, and add this, and can sync, such as having a common goal, the cognitive essences can begin to resonate. Now, what does this mean? It means that people who are trusting and have a very common goal, their subconscious begins to share information with one another, right? Like, this basically explains like those moments not only in real life but also within like movies and like books and comics where people are working perfectly with one another, right? Like they are like they don't even really need to communicate that much. They just do, right? They know the objective. They know the assignment. And they can just execute it without having to extremely coordinate, right? And I imagine this is almost like an appearance, like the cognitive essence is like, yeah, basically, right? Like it is how like I would imagine like examples in the real world I imagine it also takes a lot of training and like building with one another to actually get to this point. But basically, what I imagine is that like how like marching bands and like cheerleaders and football and like soldiers and stuff like that, and how they're able to like basically do things even in different conditions, not only using that training but that trust with one another, and how sometimes with this happening, like when this happens, people almost get like a sixth sense with one another, and if something does happen, say something like trips and falls, they can sort of adapt around it without having to be like, shit, look at that person who fell, right? So that's my thought, right? Is that like it is a synchronization of the cognitive essences, which allows them to more or less interact without the person realizing it. And I imagine it's actually a pretty big thing when they synchronize like this, because it shows that they trust one another. So that's my proposal. What do y'all think about this? I think Moss Cliff, you're the only one in right now. So Moss, what do you think about this? Assume you're in a position where you can answer. We're gonna eat some more pizza. Yeah, I thought so too. And here's the thing that I am more or less unsure about. Right here's what I'm unsure about. Yeah, I mean, no. That's not a simplification. That is basically what it is, right? From like the farthest point out, that's basically what it is. It is an explanation of how people can mesh well with one another, instinctually. Exactly. So here's the thing. I am not super sold on quite yet. Basically, I'll basically write a different version of the like the planet soul or the world soul, soul explanation. So planets have their own souls. So, so it is that due to size and complexity of the worlds, their cognitive essence here undetectable to the standard person. And see if the and into watching one would long perish and inch rise from. So that's my explanation so far, right? So basically, to summarize, plants have their own souls, and they also have their own cognitive essence. But due to the sheer size and complexity of a planet, the cognitive essence is near undetectable, right? It would be like watching a mountain grow. You would basically die before you even see like an inch grow on the mountain, right? And that would be basically like watching like for the first pen stroke of a letter from a world soul. That being said, here's where I get a little unsold on, right? Here, let me also write this down real quick. So there are four notable states a world can be: a inactive world, a world where the world soul has gone dormant, unknown if something dies can properly die. Inactive world soul result in planets that are inherently hostile in life, or let me just say life in general. Life in general. Of course. Thank you for hanging out. I'll probably have to take control of this, man. Each time. Also, life in general. Things such as lack of sonic atmosphere, etc. On the active and active soul, while still can be hostile life, but it's notable that it can still host if given enough work from those colonizing or those currently on the places like this extreme weather, atmosphere, unstable, uh, as well as a of other such natural soda, natural. Then both of these states can have an awakening. Essentially, awakening. I'm gonna make this its own little due to the I would argue the complexity of awakening. Again, I'm unsure if I'm sold on this. I may ask you all like what you think of something like this. Awakened world souls. Ah! And awakened world soul, a world soul that has somehow, some way, shoved at least a small portion of its own cognitive essence, that of a morphine, effectively giving them an ascension. Double spaced. You gotta love a double spaced. All my homies hate single lines. Notably, the person's own cognitive essence may be dominated, pressed by the now massive boost of by the but way not only full fit find stereotypical setting. There we go. When this a world suddenly several magic hired go and sometimes violent time it go. Ah, Cody is gone. So basically, to explain what this is, an awakened world soul is a soul that somehow shoved at least a portion of its cognitive essence into a mortal being, presumably a humanoid of some variety, which results in probably a lot of different things occurring. Primarily, when awakening occurs, a world may exhibit extreme changes with itself, such as a new form of magic forming, extreme like continental shifts, new creatures being formed, environments being created, stuff like that. And that is due to the fact that a world basically had an like whatever the world may have been thinking at the time can now be suddenly and perhaps violently carried out with an awakening. That being said, it is only a fragment of a world soul's cognitive essence that does this. So it may be like certain like portions of the cognitive essence as a whole rather than the entire world. So like it could result in like perhaps even like multiple awakenings depending on how old a world is, right? Or like how far an awakening may have occurred. I I imagine these vessels for the awakened cognitive essences, they also go out of their way to awaken other worlds so they can basically shape a world in to how they want things to occur, right? So I imagine this is like how awakening spreads is through like the triggering and creation of different creatures. So I imagine like the first humans probably originated on a single world, and then that world went through an awakening, and then that world's awakened being basically was like, ah, yes, I can do stuff now, and then they just like fucked off and started like awakening to other worlds and like making planets in their own image. So yeah, that's the thing. Like I'm not sold on this entirely quite yet. I am unsure of how I feel about it. I think it could be a really cool thing to like imply, but I don't think immediately like awakened souls would be like a big if we ever get there with writing. There's just an explanation of why things occur. Especially because that person may start exhibiting like godlike qualities. Here, I'll also put this caveat. An awakened soul, world soul, also a that's magic, as that's her what's changed entirely, causing whatever material magical level. There we go. So, if there's anyone in chat who's willing to speak right now, what do y'all think about this? It's a bit weird, of course, right? It's a bit on the weird side. Yeah, so like I said, this is one of those things that I am unsure about. You know, it's just like it may be too out there. Like I think the idea of maybe even the world soul in general may be something that's a bit too out there. You know, that'd be something we have to shelf for the time being. It's very, very macro. You know, a world soul is a very macro thing. And that's where the issue lies. That I'm unsure of how to handle some of this, but I think divide this because it may not say like stay. Also here, let me hop over here quick. I don't know what I did earlier, but I hurt my face somehow during work, and now it hurt. Sir Balto, hello. Okay. Here, let me type this out real quick. There we go. Tossing that in there. There we go. As to answer your question, Sir Balto, I think so. The cognitive essence. How do I put this? So the world isn't so much putting its soul into a pre-existing body, right? It is more along the lines of taking its capability to think, that being its cognitive essence, and like lashing it onto a living creature. Because I don't think a world actually has the capability of properly creating an avatar otherwise. And I imagine that is the case because of how long it takes for a world to even like begin making a body like that. Like I feel like if a world wants to make its perfect host, right? The actual like physical material, like the flesh it might use, would decay quicker than it can actually make it. Like make the body properly with how slow it is for the world to properly think. And I imagine when a world soul awakens like this, in like the macro time scale, it is like a split second decision that in our scale may take like decades, right? Like it may have like an idea of a host, and by the time the awakening occurs, the world like that host may already be like mid age, right? Like let's say like it's an infant, right? They're like the world's like that infant is gonna be my host, right? By the time it's even able to like lash out and like attach itself, that person may already be like 20, 30, 40, right? Um and I think once that occurs, the awakened soul, or like the awakened world slash the host that it's attached to, uh can then basically play hopscotch with the power of that cognitive essence like tether, right? Which I mean, if it's possible in like that world, it may even be able to like make a body for itself, or like I would imagine most likely it would make it so like the longevity of the person that they'll lash to is increased, right? Like they may not last forever because let's be real here, entropy exists. No one can last forever. But like instead of being like 100 years for an average human to die, it may take that person like a millennia or more to die. And when that occurs, it can probably lash like in the human time scale, like lash that soul onto a the next vessel and even make their own vessel that way they can have a much more idealized version of that world. Um in to shorten my answer, uh I think it's because before an awakened soul, my idea of like of this quote unquote lashing of a world soul, or like this or just more accurately the awakening, is basically because when that occurs, that individual is able to enact change that the world may have been trying to do on its own at like a microsecond of like in the world's point of view, right? So and it's even like one of those situations where I'm thinking that it's like it may not even be like the entire cognitive essence of the world, but like a fraction of it is able to do it. But that fraction is still like an immense amount of power compared to a normal compared to like a normal living creature. Um basically this is basically my way of trying to explain how gods happen. This is my attempt at making gods being like a canonical thing and like how gods happen. Because I think having like an explanation of how gods spawn can be a cool thing. Um, you know what I mean? So like that's why it can spawn new creatures or magic. It's because like the this like the ability for the world or even that fraction of the world to think suddenly just goes so fucking quick, right? So instead of having like this natural escalation, it's more of like a sudden thing that occurs. So that's my thoughts on it. Like I said, I'm not like sold on this yet. I'm not like sold at this at all, right? It's one of those things that I've been thinking about and I want to like work with y'all about this. So I'm like, you know, test it out, see what goodness there is. Because I realize it's a bit out there, you know. It may not be worded correctly. Yeah, it may not be. So the second paragraph is basically them is me saying that like an awakened world soul is what a is needed for a naturally occurring, like not naturally, but like for a magic system to properly exist. Um, like I imagine there can be like transplant magic on a world. That basically being like, let's think about it like this, right? So there are two worlds that have been awakened, right? On one world, the magic stems a from like water. That's like the example I've been using. Like this world that like you drink water and you can do magic because you drink the water, right? Like that's how that energy is added to the body that then allows the person to do. When that occurs, right? Like if they somehow manage to travel to world where, let's say, the let's say like somehow the I don't know, dirt is magic, right? Like you do something with dirt, and that dirt then allows you to do magic stuff, right? Whatever abilities it may spawn from it. If someone from world A goes to world B and then they drink water, that water is just going to be a normal cup of water for them. It is not going to give them any magical benefits at all. But if someone from world A brought water from world A to world B and then drink that water, they can still do magic on that world, on world B, as long as they have the water. And same thing with world B to world A, right? Like if someone from world B brings like a jar of dirt, and that jar of dirt like is how they do magic, they can do that dirt magic on world A. And that's what I mean by like transplant magic. Right? Um and then what may be cool is that like if these individuals then begin, like, so if someone from world B with a jar of dirt goes to world A and then they drink some water, they're like, then they have access to both the dirt magic, as long as it doesn't run out, and the water magic, which in that case they won't run out because they're on world A. Right? So that's what I mean by like transplant magic, is that like people can probably like impose their magic on a world as long as they bring enough of it. But let me rephrase this. Let me rephrase the second part so it may hopefully be a little bit more sense making. So when occurs, no awakening occurs, old. Yeah, right. Yeah, so exactly. Yeah, no, that is exactly how it is, right? So like, basically, like what would occur, right? So like, someone with the um from planet B goes to planet A. They use all the magic energy that is within the jar of dirt. That basically either that jar of dirt either like the dirt either like disappears or the dirt just becomes normal dirt, right? Like whatever method is used with dirt magic to actually extract the magic must occur. Um, so like let's just say like they do something and then that jar of dirt just turns into a normal jar of dirt, like no magical properties. That jar of dirt will not be able to begin becoming magic again until it is returned to magic, not magic, planet B. Um, basically, what how I'm thinking about this is that it is a situation where um the either that or like the maybe like just like raw magic, but I'm unsure about that, right? Like if there's like somehow like raw magic can exist, then the like Jerk B can get recharged on planet A. But I can't say for certain, right? I don't want to say that right now. Um, but basically, what I imagine is that like it is almost like a radiation effect for specific things. More or less, the magic is like keyed or like locked, right? Like it is like locked to that area, and since that lock is only to that area, then when you it's like trying to put a key for a car into a door, right? Not a car door, but like a door. Um, unless that key works, it's not gonna do anything, right? You're just gonna be rubbing a key against the lock. Um, that's what I'm trying to say here, right? Is that like it is a situation where like things cannot be recharged or replenished unless they go back to their planet because it is like keyed to that specific world. That's what I'm trying to say. I did not do a good job explaining it. I kind of went off on a tangent. And that probably that explanation probably is gonna go down here in magic stuff, TM. I'm also gonna delete this because this is a little out of date. So like that's what I mean by like transplant, right? And like that being said, right, if someone from World A brings like their jar of dirt to World B, it may actually turn into magic dirt, right? Or if someone brings water from planet B to planet A and then dumps out like takes like mixes the magic water with the normal water, it may make that normal water entirely magic, right? Because basically that material is what is key to the world. That's how I'm trying to rationalize this. Um, it's a little difficult to explain because it's like trying to make physics for magic. Oh yeah, yeah. Hang on. Is that a bit better? And honestly, this may not be like the best explanations on itself, right? It may not be the best. Um, it's definitely one of those things where I'm having a hard time translating my own thoughts into word. So I'm trying my fucking best. Oh Lord, I am trying. Yeah, I'm also like tempted to put the clause in that this awakened fragment of a world soul can like hop to a different planet and be like, you know what? You know what, world? Guess what? Awaken, right? And like they can make like an awakening occur to a planet, but I don't know. I don't know about that either. It also starts begging the question: what was the first world to awaken, and how did that occur? Right? Like, what happened from it? Heck, it might be even a thing we imply, like we imply with like other settings, right? Like, we're like, yo, this world is weird. Like, to those who like know about the grander picture, they're like, yo, this world's weird. It's not like any other world, super fucking old, and like the planet doesn't, like, its awakened soul, like, host is gone, right? They don't know, we don't know where it went. Has caveman magic. Don't know what caveman magic is, but I guess it is something with cavemen. Yeah, let me start writing down the magic stuff, like the new version of the magic stuff. So, magic is an energy that spawns with the soul of all items, and then can buy a essence. They can be new by a cognitive essence. Cognitive essence responsible magic. And person transfer, creating several how magic works. And like the thing to also realize too is that like nothing, it may not have to make sense from like a real world point of view, but as long as the logic is internal, like it was consistent internally, I think it can be okay. It may just be difficult to explain. And this is like, again, this is very like very broad picture here. Works. World can own magic significant effect. Those who tap into that not have no or let me rewrite this. Let me rewrite this a little bit. World cannot have identical magics, though the end product is similar, or identical magic methods. There you go. That's the word I'm looking for. Methods. Though the end results may, may be same. So basically, what that's trying to say, or I'm trying to say there, is that like two worlds can have very similar resulting magic, right? So, as an example, let's say like world A, right? Water world. Let's just say water world for now. Has a world where, and then there's world C where the mist, right? There's like fog all the time, right? The fog itself is what's magic in world C, right? They can have very similar results, right? So like let's say world A, when you drink some water there, are able to fly. Random one, right? A random idea, right? You can fly when you drink the water in World A. World C has a system where you can more or less channel that mist into you and then use the mist as like a platform to travel, right? You can fly using the mist, but it's more like you're riding on a platform of mist, right? The end product is that you're both flying, right? You're flying, both of you, but the methods are different, right? That's the thing that's important. Is that the methods are have to be different because each world soul is unique, but the end results may be the same, right? I think that makes sense. And that's just me trying to expand upon this sentence. So, yeah. Questions? Woo woo? Yeah, I need to post a picture of self. Gotta love self and stand self in this house. There we go. Yeah. Um. I'm gonna explain transplant magic real quick, and then I have an idea. Right. So magic. I mean, that's fine. I think that's fine. I think that's okay. Um, Mainly because I do enjoy when magic is different, right? Like I don't think every world can or should have a setting where like a wizard can throw a fireball in like just the exact same way. And if it is putting way too much restrictions on me, then I can change it, right? It's fine. That's not a big deal. But I think trying to think of magic different way like that could be, and that is. Let me put a clause in here. Two worlds cannot have identical magic methods that naturally occur. I think. I think that's how I'm gonna work. Two words cannot have identical magic methods that naturally occur, though the end results may be the same between worlds. There you go. Now I read it. Is the word is that okay? How I read is that is that world a wizard can a fireball and get fire? I interpret this as no other worlds can have the word fireball be can't for fire. Um, I made okay. Let me rephrase this a little. So two worlds may may share similar methods or magical, though highly rare. There you go. Though highly rare, or common for two worlds to have differing methods for magical, even if the end results in magic, even if the end result is very similar. That's how I'm gonna word it now, I think. Two worlds may share similar methods for magical results, though highly rare. It is more common for two worlds to have different methods for magic, even if the end result is very similar. So, wizard can say fireball, and then they get fire, right? They can throw fire, right? And then another world may have a word where they go like fire, and then they shoot a fireball, right? That's rare. I think if that's the case, it's probably gonna be more through transplant magic. Um, because I agree, I that may have been a bit harsh in the detailing. The end result may be very similar. Okay, let me say this. How do I even start describing transplant magic? Practitioner or practice of magic, and uh, if a practitioner of magic somehow manages to travel worlds, they can continue their native form of magic as long as the source of said magic remains full of energy, while still adopting magic world. Upon the source of the magic running out, fact, data or upon the source of the magic running out, correct back to the world of origin in order to fill said magic. So what I'm thinking too here, let me also put this as a clause up here, right? Transfer to the world. Each world contains magic system and sure allowing those who happens in my practice magic must of drawing source as highly self magic. Really magic that bestow magical effect soul, which then lies by the cognitive. There we go. I forgot to mention this. Basically, read out to what I just said. The practitioner of magic must be capable of drawing in the magical source, as it is highly rare for the individual themselves to be magic. Highly rare for world to make the individual themselves to magic. Usually, magic is contained into a material that will bestow magical energy upon a practitioner's soul, which then can be utilized by the cognitive essence. Yeah, cognitive essence. So basically, what I'm trying to say here is that like there could be a world or like where like the individual is naturally magic and they can draw in magic naturally, but like like Waterworld, right? Waterworld. The person needs to drink magic. Like they need to drink the water, and that magic water will give the practitioner's soul that extra boost that the cognitive essence needs to use in order to do magic. Um, and then I can continue with transplants. So that's basically saying if a practitioner of magic somehow manages to travel between worlds, they can continue their native form of magic as long as the source of said magic remains full of energy, while still adopting the new methods of the world. Upon the source, uh, Upon the source of the native magic running out, the practitioner must return back to the world of origin in order to refill said source of magic, lest the prac no longer, lest the practitioner or no need to expand upon. So how does that sound, right? So let me just reread the entire paragraph as a whole. Magic is an energy that spawns within the soul of all items, and it can be manipulated by a cognitive essence. Cognitive essence is responsible for taking magic energy from an item or person and transferring it to the physical world, creating several results depending on how the magic works. Each world contains its own unique magic system and signature, allowing those who can harness it to tap into the energy to do amazing feats. The practitioner of magic must be capable of drawing the energy into a magical source, as it's highly rare for a world to make the individuals themselves magic. Usually, magic is contained into material that will bestow magical energy on the practitioner's soul, which then can be utilized by the cognitive essence. Two worlds may share similar methods for magical results, though highly rare. It's more common for two worlds to have different methods for magic, even if the end results are very similar. If the practitioner of magic somehow manages to travel between worlds, they can continue the native form of magic as long as the source of said magic remains full of energy, while still adopting the new methods of the new world. Upon the source of native magic running out, the practitioner must return back to the world of origin in order to refill said source of magic. How's that sound? I think that sounds pretty good. But then again, okay, cool. So yeah, no clashing of ideas there. I think that sounds like a pretty cohesive law of magic. Yeah. I think that's a pretty cohesive law of magic. I feel like almost this should be like bullet points than a paragraph, right? All right. I'm also gonna highlight this because I'm unsure. Like, this is like the original one, and I'm unsure if I'm gonna get rid of this yet. I'm not gonna do yellow because that's blinding me. Let's go like a little bit better. Leave them as a paragraph examples of detail. I agree there. So to basically go over the universal rules. Which hang on, I'm gonna redub this as Soul Theory, Soul Theory, and Magic. Rules of the soul. Right? Everything has a soul. The embodiment of that object or the source of said object, the iron ingot would share the same soul of that as the vein it's wrought from, though perhaps purified in this process. Living creatures possess cognitive essence, which changes the soul based on the physical nature of the being. This not necessarily a DM guide. This is just I thought it might be cool to make a setting where there are like overall rules like this. Like this is supposed to be like this is like I want to say all of the above. All of the above, right? It's supposed to be a guide written in universe, and it's also supposed to be a DM guide. Like I feel like if there's a being capable of understanding the broader rules of the universe, soul theory and magic theory is what it would be called. Does that make sense? Yeah, more. I think it's more just like I could 100% write like an in-universe one at this point. I think of someone who knows about soul theory and magic theory and like awakened world souls and stuff like that. Um, this is much more to be like a this is like the skeleton which we can begin rotting fresh flesh from to make a living creature. Yeah. Um, that being said, hey, I don't have any other ideas on magic physics. um, none that come to mind right away, at least. Oh, wait, no, I have one. We talked about this last stream. I don't think I ever wrote it down. Knew by one another. Just, there you go. When, when a beast dies, the cognitive essence dissipates. Unpatient. What is of stowing life of corpse that cognitive essence dead. So such cog or by the soul and body affecting that process. There you go. That's a bunch of words. I may also shift around a few words here. Like it feels almost to me like a cognitive essence is much more like a soul rather than a soul. But I may say something like I may change the words around in the future. Or desolation. So what happens when a magically activated person dies in a world not containing or opposing magic? The risk of contamination or desolation. Uh, are you saying like if a person dies and they are a magical capable being and they somehow landed in a world that's not awakened, if they could contaminate that world with that transplanted magic? Is that what you're trying to ask there? I'm sorry, I'm trying to understand the question a little bit more. Trying to expand it, I guess. What does not have magic? Does that magic decay naturally in that non-magic world? Oh, that's an excellent question. I don't know. that is an that's an excellent question. Um, I think if that magic is untapped, that magic will just remain a magic thing. Um, yeah, I think that may be a magic thing. That being said, if it is a kind of magic thing that is stored within the soul of an individual, that may have some repercussions. Um, that's an excellent question. I don't know how that may occur. Balto, Balto, what do you think should happen? Sir Balto, what do you think would occur to someone who dies on a world that is not awakened? Because I can't say for certain. I don't know. I kind of want to like I want to throw this at at you to see what you may think. I think so too. Also, hang on. I just realized I didn't have my music on this entire time. There we go. Yeah, as it is a foreign form, but you not naturally. I I'm keen to agree here. Like, if this is a non-awakened world, and a motherfucker, let's say a person with from planet B, Dirt World, dies on planet E, a not awakened but active world soul. Um, if that person that is the practitioner, they have a small release of magic, assuming that it is a magic that is stored within the soul after being absorbed, compared to immediately spent. Though I don't think it would have a massive effect. I think it may be a situation where perhaps it's being perhaps it's being spent when the cognitive essence dissipates. So it may turn into a thing where a person with magic energy in them, when they die, their cognitive essence will last longer than a normal person or a person from a non-awakened world, as a way for the magic to be released if it's stored in the soul. If it's a situation where the material is still magic, I think it may be a situation, personally, where the magic does not. I think magic is a form of radiation that does not decay. Because it's magic, right? Like, it doesn't need to decay. I think what would occur. Oh shit! Yeah, what would happen if a fucking carrion eats a magic corpse? Oh my god, we're having to do a lot of what ifs here. I think if that person is if that jar of dirt ever breaks, it's going to have normal dirt and magic dirt being mixed together, right? So that dirt, like that area, may suddenly have the possession of just the smallest bit of magic, because it probably would be dilute, right? Like it would be like drop, like with the amount of dirt on a planet, it may be something where it's like a drop of water on a bucket of normal water, right? And that magic drop of water dilutes, and there is still magic within that drop bucket of water, but that the amount in it is the same as the drop, so it's so diluted that it may not result in anything. That being said, if the body itself is magic, and a carrion eats that magic soul, that may do some, like, not soul, but that magic body, that may result in some weird shit going on with the carrion. Primarily because that would be a non-awakened, like a non-awakened world soul, or like awakened world soul, like vulture, eating a magic corpse, and suddenly that vulture soul has a lot of energy in it. A lot of energy that the cognitive essence may not know what to do with. So I think that may result in, like, oh my god, this may result in like transplant magic. If someone dies and they have transplant magic that like affects their body, like a vulture may end up, they may make magic vultures. And I don't know what would happen with a magic vulture, man. Like, it may like mutate the vulture as like, presumably, since the cognitive essence of a vulture that eats a magic corpse on a non-awakened world soul wouldn't know what to do with that energy, it may just be diluted as it reproduces, right? Like, because it's passing on that energy while it reproduces as a way to get rid of that energy, which may result in mutations to the wildlife, which may just result in like crazy ass like magic fueled like giant vultures. That's, oh my god. Am I talking nonsense here? I feel like that makes sense, right? Because it's like, as you said, right? It's either adapt or die, right? It either figures out a way to process that energy that it doesn't know what to do with, or it just fucking keels over. And if that happens, it might just be a vicious cycle of things keeling over after it eats it. What do you think about that? Because I'm sitting here, I'm like, holy shit, I did not think about like what happens if someone dies who's a transplant. This may need to be its own like section here, right? So that's a heading 1. We need a heading 2, I think. I think we may need a heading 2. Death of a trans. Here, let me try to sort my thoughts with this real quick. Death of a transplant. A practitioner of magic dies upon a world not their own. May results several things. Oh man, I got the hiccups now. Ugh, I don't know where the hiccups came from. Several things occurring. If the magic attribute stored with objects as are of birds and apple, that magic may just become a dilute point of how do you spell relevant? Okay, well that's how it works. Relevance goes. Magic is stored with self. It can mutate with no means of expended energy causing further problems, or it can start a series until it becomes not contaminated. Magical energy and contaminate. I don't think it would decay. I think it may be cool if because I don't think it's necessarily radiation so much as it is like a form of energy, and energy cannot be created or destroyed. It can only change shape. You know what I mean? Or change its state, I would say. Hang on one second, I need a cough. Alright. So, if the magic soul within itself, it may result in occurring. Magic may be extended, cognitive essence, virtual realm, or an extended time. The excess magic spell or if it were to sue while the cognitive essence still may and flesh magical cycle of bodies learn to for the body to and the magic states, or it may result an area live with sudden out pass on drag there we go. So a practitioner of magic who dies upon a world not their own may result in several things occurring. The magic is naturally stored within an object, such as a jar of dirt, for example. The magic material may dilute relevance. The magic is stored within the individual itself. It may result in new magic may be spread through the cognitive essence, green in this realm for an extended period of time as the excess of magic energy is expelled through the essence. Or if it were to be consumed while the cognitive essence still may linger, the magically enhanced flesh could result in the magical energy that may not know what to do. Results in a cycle of carrions eating carrions with contaminated bodies for the body to decay and thus magically turn. Or it may adaptation. Carrion will learn to live with this sudden amount of energy, pass on fragments, and cause mutations thusly. And that's how you get magic vultures. Oh shit! Yeah, I think it would. I think that would occur. Hang on, let me continue on. These mutations may result in a pseudo awakening. The carrion or the object in the that consume magic considered unnatural, where the entity form of regard natural consumption becomes others. Yeah, I'm also gonna throw this clause in here to really shake up the pot. these creatures may continue to exist awake world soul. And have a foreign magic. There you go. So this is considered. So mutations may result in a pseudo awakening within the entity that consumes magic. This is considered an unnatural form of awakening, while the entities may even create a form of recharge through natural consumption of others in order to continue the magic energy within them. These creatures may continue to exist even in the post-awakened world soul, and have a a foreign form of magic in the world, or not foreign form, albeit unnatural. So, what I'm trying to say here is that if a Nicarian eats a body that has magical energy before the cognitive essence can properly dispel of that energy, the Carrion will suddenly have a large amount, or not even the Carrion, it doesn't even have to be a Carrion, right? If a person got fucking murdered by a bear, and that bear starts noshing on that corpse, that bear is gonna have magic in it that it doesn't know what to do with, right? So it's either gonna fucking die, which then probably Karens will start trying to eat, and then probably die, or continues on with the latter form. These mutations may like this, or it may result in a situation where the creature learns to live with this. It may not be vibing too hard with this, but its children, which then it will start passing the this energy on to, will start mutating in order to exist with the magic, right? Because this is like basically going to be an enhanced magical soul. This will result in mutations where it's like a pseudo awakening, where instead of it naturally occurring, can also be events where this form of magic may heavily influence a world soul to awaken along with the form of magic, especially if the magically mutated creature becomes a dominant entity. Oh my god, that may be the case, right? The magic of the world soul awakening may not be identical to the person, to like this pseudo awakening, but it may become like complementary or very similar, right? Oh my god, this could result in a lot of. This may be like, oh man, I'm fucking vibing with this one. Okay, awaken will suddenly have different or blah, blah. This may even spur on a proper awakening of a world soul, where due to the influence of the foreign and unnatural magic may cause the natural magic of complementary, or what's the opposite of complementary? What's the opposite of complementary? I'm trying to remember the word for opposite of complementary. Or detrimental? Conflicting with one another? Or conflicting? I'm gonna say conflicting. Or conflicting. Incompatible. I'm gonna say incompatible. Incompatible. This may even spur on a proper awakening of a world soul, while due to the influence of foreign and unnatural magic, may cause the natural magic to become complementary or incompatible with that of the transplanted magic. So I think this will occur only if the magic is stored within the individual, rather than being channeled something, right? So like if the let's say there's a world out there where the air is magic, and the person breathing gets magic, and it can like compile that magic through breathing. That person has way more magic in them than the standard practitioner of magic in any other world, I would say. And if that person transplants and then dies on a foreign world that's not awakened, let's say gets shanked by a bear, right? And that bear eats that body, that bear's gonna suddenly have a bunch of magic in them, and they're gonna be like, I don't know what I'm doing here. I'm either gonna die or I'm gonna fucking pass on this magic. If the latter occurs, where it's they pass on the magic, it may cause a pseudo awakening, where the basically the world, not the world, but like the creatures in question may develop magic, probably based on consumption, right? Basically, because everything has a soul, and then the soul has an innate magical property to it, right? So as long as it's able to continue consuming and powering that magic, it may not be as powerful as natural magic, but it will still be magic. And this may even compound where, like, let's say this active world but it's not awakened has pseudo humans on it, right? Like they have cavemen, Neanderthals, stuff like that, right? If they eat that magic ass giant magic bear off in the distance, so like that thing looks tasty, I'm gonna eat it, they themselves may start becoming magic. Which with that occurring, and if that becomes dominant on the planet, and then that planet has an awakening, or even it may even spur on an awakening, that planet's world soul basically has a choice to make when it has its awakening. It's either going to see this foreign magic that is not its own and be like, oh, I'm gonna work with this as much as I can, or it's gonna be like, you need to fucking get rid of this magic. So it becomes basically either this magic becomes complementary to one another, or it becomes like conflicting, and it will be like almost like an organ being rejected from a body, right? Like the magic will exist to counter the original magic. That's the transplanted magic, and that may cause some really weird things to occur, especially in the long run. I'm vibing with that idea a lot. That's really cool, I think. Death of a transplant. That is like a magic physics like law that may be like a thing where it's like if you're like a transplant, your goal is to not die as much as you can, especially on a non-awakened world soul. Because I imagine on an awakened world soul, everything knows a little bit of what to do with the magic. So like it won't result in this like runaway awakening effect. Right? So it probably won't result in this runaway like magic that may occur on a non-awakened world. But it may just make people sick. Because they have this foreign form of magic that they got from a bear that ate someone. Who's a transplant. But since their souls know what to do with magic, they're gonna be like, oh, okay, I can just sort of like expel this by basically appearing sick. Though it's not gonna be like a normal form of sickness, it's gonna be like a soul sickness. that was an excellent question, Balto. I'm not gonna lie, that was an excellent question. Yeah, basically, TLDR, death of a transplant is that the on a non-awakened world, it either results in a creature dying, adapting, or basically becoming so diluted that it's like not even noticeable. Yeah, that's the three routes you can take. This stuff. Okay. Now, are there any additional questions to to any of this? Because I think we can start on. Otherwise, making our own world, our own setting. Yeah, because I can't think of any other occurrences. I think the death of a transplant, it was a really big what if. So I think we can probably move on to making our own world. Make a world to write on. Yeah. How this works. Let me do something real so I can kind of divide. Ah! I'll put this little line here. Know that this is all right. So here's the hardest part, I would say, and I know that's kind of wild to think about, especially because we basically just wrote magic physics. What is this first world we're gonna play on? I don't think this setting that we write in should be the first world soul to ever awaken. I think that should remain almost like a mythological thing. That's only like to those who know, they are the only ones who know. I leave the floor to you, the audience, right now for the first, I guess, like this idea that may sprout out. I think a couple things we should establish is the name of a planet. Which I'll probably just put as planet name. Space, there we go. And then gotta do a couple important bits here. So first one be oh fuck. Now with this whole like carrion effects, I think it may be important to distinguish is if this has a natural like how many magic systems are on this planet? Actually, hang on. I'm gonna put a clause in quick to the Awakened World. I think the world to perform first will. I think the first world to perform multi travel first awakening document. Okay, okay. Here, let me also do this real quick. So this may okay. Bear with me here. We'll kind of falling back real quick. A world. Well, due to the size of world's cognitive essence, multiple awakening can occur, though it is rare for it. Though it is have more than. And then I'll put this down here. If a world has multiple awakenings, then there will be multiple magic that nice. Boom. Just to kind of toss that out there, just to spice it up a little bit. I think we can move. I think the first world awakening is more of a curiosity, but has no real bearing. I think the first world to perform multi-world travel, first awakening visitor, first documented magic contaminated. Well, okay, that's the thing. I think the first awakened world soul is the first world to actually ever have someone leave the world. And I imagine that this person may have been the world soul itself, or like the host for the fragments. Here, I'm just gonna say, as a temporary name, this is going to be the vaguest details I'm not gonna write in this world. The first, the period. That way you know it's serious. The first. World Soul Vessel. Name. Cultivation. There we go. The first. So the first World Soul Vessels are the vessels are World Soul Vessel. I think the very first World Soul to ever awaken is the first one to have humans on it. And then that world, well, like what I imagine happened. So bear with me a little bit as I explain this. The first World Soul, the first time that World Soul ever awoken, that the person that it bound with did not get erased, right? Unlike what happens sometimes, people may get erased from a world soul. That person, which I'm just gonna call cultivation for the time being, basically was, I think, fascinated with the stars. And basically, as soon as they got this godlike energy, they were like, I'm out. And then they basically hopped off the world, right? Taking that power of the first of this first awakening with them. And with this godlike power, when they travel to worlds that are active and probably capable of hosting human life, they basically saw like what was occurring there and were like, but what if there were humans on there? And then that cultivation basically seeded the universe with humans in order to more or less cause more awakenings to occur. This is caused primarily by the original host, like the original person, basically being like, I got this. Like, I am in control here, right? They put their foot down when it came to like the battle of cognitive essence between them and the soul of the world. So cultivation just fucked off and did that shit, right? I don't think that necessarily is magical contamination. I think that's more along the lines of what's where the dominant species master space travel. That is an interesting question, baby. What happens to worlds where the dominant species master space travel? I think if a species were to master space travel, especially if it's fueled by magic, they would need to learn how raw magic can be created. So that way, especially if their vessels are fueled by magic, they can continue on with traveling. Non-magic space travel. I think non-magic space travel will, I mean, I imagine not, like, I don't think really anything occurs. I think they just might be a contamination risk, right? Where these people with that mastered space travel, non-magic space travel, when they travel through space and they land on these different planets, if that individual is magic, they are contamination risk. But beyond that, I think it's just normal. I think the world is carrying on as normal, even though there's like rocket ships and stuff. You know what I mean? I think that makes sense, right? And that may also explain why there's like that probably explains how there are probably some worlds where it's only humans. Well, that being cultivation is the explanation why there's only humans. And then there are some worlds where there's humans and there's another humanoid or maybe even non-humanoid sapient species that can do. Cultivation basically was trying to create world awakenings by going across the universe and just throwing out humans left and right, sprinkling them on. I think because cultivation basically stole a portion of the cognitive essence of the first, I think that probably it's also the world to have multiple awakenings there. I think those ones are just going to be I'm just gonna say unnamed awakening boost. There we go. So yeah, basically TLDR, if a species were to figure out space travel, probably the same exact thing would be occurring on that planet. Probably nothing major. Probably the biggest thing that would occur is that they are a contamination risk to other planets. Yeah. So I'm just gonna quickly move down then, because the first, I'm also gonna turn this into heading. And also, of course, turn it into Ariel Disgusting. Alright. And that's all the details I want to put into the first so far. Other than, I think the first is probably the first in most things. Like, probably like doing like going to different planets and stuff like that. They probably infected other planets with the whatever magic cultivation and the other awakening made. They're probably not the first in master space travel. Then the most dominant magical world in the current multiverse. Oh, wait, are you asking if the first is the most dominant? Because I would argue yes, but at the same time, I imagine the first may be a bit damaged due to cultivation just boogieing off with a portion of the cognitive essence of the world soul. So instead of being like most worlds, like awakening hosts, where basically they serve as like a watcher for the world, the dude just fucked off, right? He went off somewhere. So I would argue yes. I would argue that the firsts they would be the first in most things. That being said, I think that may be before cultivation left the world. And in doing so, caused a regression within the first. Until the second awakening. And then the second awakening probably helped out with bringing the first back on track. Yeah, I think that's the case. I would like to make a world that we like to write in. I would like to write in this world, the next world that we make. And also, I should say, cultivation should not be the theme of vessel names. I think the vessels can probably have their own name. I think they just need to have like an aspect about them. Since it is only a fragment of a mind, I think it would make sense if they have like specific goals in mind. So like, if there's a world that was awakened and the world is extremely war torn, that host may think of either like domination or like peace or like harmony, stuff like that, right? Just like making stuff peace. Like it has that aspect about it. I think the world that would first write about it would be the first. I think the first world to write about the stuff would be the first. That being said, due to cultivation leaving, I think the people who left the first originally, like basically doing what cultivation did, or basically doing what cultivation did, but before cultivation did it, would be the only ones to properly remember what the first was like, as well as all this theory. This document specifically, I think maybe from, like, if I were to make it like an in-character thing, it would be from someone from the first before the first shit itself from cultivation leaving. Hang on, maybe before we make this, should we discuss how people move worlds? Because I don't think people can just like, I think with how we made magic so far, I don't think magic can necessarily transport someone in the traditional method of making, of like, as in like doing a spell and then magic, and then like they magic to a different world. Should we take a moment to discuss that? Especially how do they get? Yeah, exactly. I'm thinking they. Oh, how do I explain this? Here's the question: how do I explain this without ripping off Brandon Sanderson? I think the best way that I can think of how people can move to and from the magic, like the physical world, and then move to a different physical, is that there is an ability, those who know how to do it, where they can basically just like go one direction to stop saying. I don't think so. I also don't want that, because I feel like the anchor idea may be too close to a perpendicularity in Brandon Sanderson's. I'm thinking that an individual, or those with advanced cognitive essences, that being like sapient people, right? Like intelligent living creatures that is more intelligent than as intelligent as humans. I think if those who try really hard are able to more or less use their cognitive essence. This may be like a thing that cultivation did to humans in general. They use their cognitive essence to pull their physical form into the spiritual area. So what I'm thinking here, right, is that humans have, if they really know how, and I'm talking they probably either stumble ass backwards into this, or they get trained from birth to do this. They are able to more or less use their cognitive essence to latch, instead of using the cognitive essence to affect the soul, what they do is that the cognitive essence can pull the person using magic energy into the spiritual, where basically the physical would occupy the space of where the spirit would be, more or less pacing them on top of each other. I think this may result in several things. For instance, I don't think people would age properly in this state, nor would they need food or water in the traditional sense. And I think those who know how to do this can simply just walk to a different planet. I'm thinking that basically more or less what happens is that, how do I put this? I don't think the transplanters are, though, I don't think transplanters need to transplant using a rocket ship. I think transplanters, at least early transplanters before rocket ships, are those who I don't know how this would occur. Because I don't want to rip off Brandon Sanderson by accident here. Because basically what happens with a I think I just ripped off Brandon Sanderson. Because basically what happens is that in Brandon Sanderson's work, The Cosmere, If a world hopper is moving to a different world, they utilize a point in reality known as a perpendicularity, where basically the physical realm and the spiritual realm, as well as the cognitive realm, all are really close together. And those who know how to enter the perpendicularity can use it to travel between worlds. And I'm sitting here and I'm like, shit, this is ripping off Brandon Sanders's perpendicularities here. Because everyone has a perpendicularity rather than being a set point in reality. I really don't know how people would world hop here. How they would shuffle between worlds. I would say that maybe has to be features that use massively scaled back. Yeah, like a perpendicularity has its own methods and stuff like that. Balto. Given this idea of traveling between worlds, how would you think a freebooter from the first would hop between a different world? I don't think the idea of holding on to a massive amount of magic and then just hoping they don't miss is a good idea. Because if that's the case, why would a freebooter do it? Right? Like, that sounds like it would be way more risky. What would you think, Balto? What would you think, given the rules that we've established so far, would be the most efficient way of traveling between without having a rocket ship? Like presumably this is going to have to be a magic, like, cognitive essence-based way of travel. You know, Balto, I was about to say, before I asked, yo, what if people just use the fucking hole that cultivation left? Though, that being said, that sounds like it's really close to a perpendicularity, and I think at this point, I just gotta accept the fact that it has to be similar. I'm thinking what occurs if we want to be massively inefficient with this. With a transplant. And I'm gonna stand up for this to explain this. I think what occurs in a transplant situation where someone wishes to go to a different world, assuming they know about it, they have to pull themselves into the spiritual realm, more or less removing themselves from the physical realm, the metaphysical realm. Right, they have to take their physical selves and put themselves in the metaphysical area. And in doing so, with basically all of their components in one spot, I think they can more or less do a lot of stuff they couldn't do otherwise, primarily with travel. And I imagine what occurs here is that worlds that have life on them, that being more or less active world souls or awakened world souls, or both, or, well, it doesn't have to be both, because I imagine, technically speaking, in an inactive world can still have an awakened world, a world soul in it. Those worlds, I imagine, may stand out a lot more due to the cognitive essence of these situations. So what I imagine occurs is that this would-be world traveler sees a world off in the distance that has a cognitive essence on it. Or a proper cognitive essence. Intelligent cognitive essence. That being, I think that's the only way you can recognize it. Is that there's like a pull that you feel. And you basically can just look there, and the fact that you're basically a soul in a metaphysical space where laws of physics can be thrown out the fucking window, I think you can more or less just zap your way over there. And in zapping your way over there, you can travel to that world where there's the intelligent cognitive essence, and then can push your physical self out of the metaphysical realm, which I imagine is a lot easier than going in. And then you have officially world hop. I imagine this may also be easier in places where a world soul host or a world cognitive essence host hopped, because it's like a pre-established trail compared to trailblazing, right? So basically, I imagine it's a lot easier to move where like cultivation moved compared to forging your own destination. That being said, the more people that go that same route that other person did that maybe isn't cultivation, a lot easier it would be, right? So I think it's kind of a combination of basically wormhole physics and then magic, and then also becoming your own personal wormhole. I imagine this is also very hard to figure out. I imagine you probably have to be in a certain state, probably mentally and magically, in order to actually do this. I also imagine that those who aren't magically inclined probably can't do this without at least some assistance. Like someone holding their hand, basically. That being said, it works. I think it works. Doesn't need to be super logically consistent or real world consistent, because it's magic. And I imagine specifically that this is an ability that everything that has a cognitive essence can probably do. That being said, do most things with cognitive essence want to do this? Probably not, right? Like, if you take a horse, you hold a horse's mane, I guess, and you bring that horse into the spiritual realm, that horse is probably gonna fucking shit itself. I also imagine dying in this realm is very dangerous. Primarily with stuff like, you know, contamination. Especially because your body will never be found. But yeah, that's how I think this is gonna work out. In other words, Wilden. It's Wilden. Hang on, let me take a gander here. Got some mess. My friend. Yo. Yeah, okay. I'm gonna write that down before I forget it. Magic stuff. I'm just gonna say, like, I'm just gonna put this at the end here. Or, let's make this like its own thing. How to, and that's it. The worst font type known to man. Arial. Fucking eat. There we go. 2 transplants. One must be. Or one must be in a certain state. I know that's a very precise term here. One must be in a precise state. Or in a certain state. When they achieve this state, the magical as a side, they can pull the pull. That's a several person not being aged, higher, or when they can I don't want to say that. I'm just gonna say certain state for the time being. Kind of to keep it vague, like intentionally. So I don't think we're gonna be seeing anyone actively world hop when I start writing in the setting. When they look, they can see what the challenge cognitive essence is. On worlds, and they can then there they can back this that is hard to special words non planets. Basically, this is me trying to say that this is a extremely hard act to do, especially if you're going to like Jupiter, right? You're gonna go to Jupiter, that's gonna be really difficult to do because there's no anchoring points. Actually, yeah. I'm gonna say no. Well, no. Basically, it's like there's no target or accurate target. Alright, where should I do? I think we should try to work. I'm thinking we should work on a setting that that being said, can write in. That being said, I'm unsure of what setting this could be. I'm definitely like up to suggestions again, particularly when it comes to things like magic system or like where the source of magic is. Because I imagine when there can be a couple like pretty unique ways of building a world, particularly if this world how do I put this? If there is a world where the awakening happened, the latest one to be added to the network, in a newly awakened world, that might not be that bad of an idea. That might be a pretty cool idea. Like, it may be a newly awakened world. Probably pretty stereotypically fantasy. Oh man, hang on, no, here's an idea. This might be weird. Hang on, here's an idea. This might be dumb. Tell me if it's dumb. This world is a newly awakened world. That being said, it is a world that was newly awakened because of cultivation upon it. It is a world where human society exists. It exists, but it is extremely young. Right? Just as young as the awakened world itself. So instead of being like medieval Europe, we may be dealing with a world. When I say humans, I mean like an actual human being. Right? Like an actual human. Not just sentient, but an actual human. This may be a world that was seeded by cultivation. And in that seeding caused an awakening. So this world's society may be still extremely young. And the world being awakened may also be extremely young, at least compared to like cultivation and other worlds exist. So instead of dealing with like a European fantasy setting, this may be like a Bronze Age situation, right? Where the technology is like starting, but because of cultivation's influence and causing the awakening of the world, it caused, like, basically it awakened so quickly that the society has not properly advanced technologically. It's like, what I imagine occurs is that like cultivation seeds a world, if not already, if it isn't already seeded, and basically then cultivation just fucks off, right? It then probably takes a really long time for the world soul to then awaken. I do not think this would cause the Bronze Age collapse. I think the Bronze Age collapse may, or in this case, the Bronze Age collapse may occur for some other reason. It may not even collapse. It may just be a situation where the Bronze Age kind of ends because people discover that iron's a way better material. Basically, here's what I'm thinking, right? This world, all things considered, the world soul, like, sensed that there was those living beings on it, and just immediately try to lash out in the grand scheme of things, right? Compared to, like, a different world, right? Where, like, it may be a tiny bit before magic suddenly appears, and probably when magic appears, it may cause a wee bit of an apocalypse. Or so that society can more along reset so it can fit in with the magic in question. But it may be interesting to see a world that is extremely young like this. Oh fuck, hang on. So here's the idea. Here's an idea. Cultivation seeded the world, not knowing that it's been contaminated by a transplant. So that being said, there are two magics in this world. Right? There is the magic caused by the transplant dying on like this primordial world. And then there is the magic of the awakened soul that was caused by not only cultivation being there, but also the other magic being there. Which would explain why the awakening happened so quickly. It's because of the pseudo awakening that occurred a couple, like 1,000 years beforehand. So it may cause some pretty weird stuff to go down. What are the thoughts on this, right? That's the idea so far. Too complex for this first setting, perhaps? It's like, while I'm into it, I can realize that this may be a bit on the advanced end of making stuff. I like to imagine that can work. Pseudo awakening is causing major strife. The awakening is to combat an aggressive pseudo awakening being. All right. What should this name be? Hang on, I'm gonna look something up real quick. Sorry, I'm just taking a look at this because I am unsure of how we should name things. Do you think maybe this following this idea of cultivation being a rogue vessel, do you think cultivation like implants the idea of the name of the planet on the residents? So I would imagine the world soul being able, like a world soul vessel being able to do that. Like it's so strong that the host is able to like implant the like echo of a name. Here, I'm gonna name it, for the time being, let's just call it the second. Even though it's definitely not the second, right? That's just a temporary name, right? The second. World Soul Vessel. Or, fuck, it's all in, might as well be Comic Sans in my eyes. Double. World Soul Vessel. I'm just gonna say cultivation. Left. The Forsaken, and as a transplant caused the runaway effect with outside and stepping in. The planet should be called the Forsaken. I think we should, as a project name, the Forsaken is a good idea. I think they should have a proper name. I think the First also has a proper name, but for the time being, it's just called the First. The Forsaken. So cultivation left, then. I mean, I said that a World Soul doesn't need to have. Oh, a vessel doesn't need to have like a title like cultivation. I think it can also have its own, and then I just need to know what aspect. Let's go. Okay, I'm just gonna do unnamed awakening host. Yeah, true. It does not need to be what others refer. It just needs to be what others refer to as aspects. I'm gonna kind of back up here a little bit. Let's say unnamed awakening host again. What is the magic like on this world? We have two magics that we need to think of here. So let's say magic. I'm gonna say there is magic. There is the contamination magic, and then there is the awakened. Oh shit! Hello again. Hello, welcome again. You scared the shit out of me. Awakened magic. Magic is awakened magic. Contamination. What kind of contamination would occur here? Maybe for the contamination magic, this world's magic is very vampiric. Maybe the contamination, where the contaminated magic resulted in those who have or practice the magic, they have to consume constantly in order to contamination could be something that keeps others away from its body, like a pestilence. I feel like a magic disease could be kind of cool, actually. Yeah, that actually could be kind of cool. This, I think there's also going to be people who have the magic, and I think it's going to be like a thing that they realize that they can do stuff with, but it's going to be definitely like a thing where it's like they can do things, but at what cost can they do things? You know what I mean? Ooh, okay, hang on, I have an idea. Okay, contamination magic. Let's say Hang on, let me look something up real quick. I'm gonna look something up real quick. Let's see. I have an idea. Here's the temporary name here. Lepromancy. Might be a bit on the nose for the time being. Lepromancy. Okay, here. I'm gonna kind of reformat this. We're gonna make this a 2 magics. Lepro. Leperman. Roman. Lepromancy. This is a temporary name. I know it sounds a little weird, but kind of go with me here. Lepromancy is, or let's say, origin and magic. Through the soul vessel, there are those who can take the magical essence by choice or by force this turn, or body by this well, like by the. Ooh, that's actually kind of good. Okay, here. Okay, contaminated or transplant magic or run away magic. There we go. Effects or origin. No, we have to think of this. The source of recharging, right? The source of recharging is a very important thing with magic. What? So if someone has lepromancy, right? They are infected and they have lepromancy. What would be? I imagine it immediately starts eating away at the soul. And I imagine basically what happens here, what like the origin of it is that basically a disease clung onto a magical corpse. And then that corpse, like that disease, instead of just dying from that energy, it mutated into lepromancy. Recharge could be miasma, rot, excess. I think I kind of get that. Miasma. What would a disease want to be recharged on? Because I feel like the filth or I think if it is a miasma, I think it might be miasma is how it spreads. And I think those who realize what lepromancy is, maybe it is a miasma. Like have you, Sir Balto, have you heard of a game called Pathologic? Because in Pathologic, there's a plague that spreads throughout the town. And the plague is like semi-sentient. Right? That's the big thing, is that the plague is semi-sentient in Pathologic. Like, there's definitely like a mind to it. I think I haven't played, no. But you've heard of it. Hopefully. Basically what I'm imagining now, considering our, hang on, I need to go do something real quick. Alright, I'm back. Sorry about that. Just had to quickly clear out my air filter. If I think that lepromancy is a magic. So based on what I said with other runaway magic like this, right? It has to be consuming something, right? It has to be consuming in order for it to properly function. Because because on like a natural awakening, there isn't a natural source of magic to recharge, save for the soul of the save for like the inherent magic within a soul. So I think lepromancy is recharged by consuming organic material. Right? You have to consume organic material. Oh, if it's rotting. Oh, that might be interesting. Like it has to be rotting for them to recharge. Because here's what I imagine. Here's the huge drawback with lepromancy in my mind. I think unless the person knows how to treat lepromancy, they will begin to rot, right? Their body, or the soul itself begins to kind of fall apart from lepromancy. This is probably going to be like the most hostile magic system I've ever created. Right? So, or no, how about instead of rotted, instead of rotted like organic material, lepromancy requires fresh organic material. So what I imagine basically occurs here is that instead of the individual rotting, when they eat the organic material, that soul juice that they incorporate into themselves the lepromancy targets that instead of their actual form. And what I mean by organic material, I probably mean like flesh of some variety, so like it can't be like a plant. And I imagine this was compounded by the awakening of the world soul. I imagine the awakening of the world soul kind of caused a little bit of change within the body of everybody there, which caused them to be in a state where if they aren't like consuming fresh material, then the lepromancy will start to kind of rot them away. Again, I don't think it's going to be called lepromancy when I write this. This is just like an example of an idea, because lepromancy may be a little on the nose. Um, so the origin is runaway transplant magic. The I was thinking of rotted materials as purified materials would in turn have a disease essence. In turn, eats into what it does. Is I'm gonna back up a tiny bit here. Let's just back up a tiny bit. I'm just gonna kind of re-go this right a little bit. Contamination magic and awakened magic. Trying to think here. The magic that was contaminated on the world. Let's think of the origin of this contaminated magic first. My thought is that the origin of the magic is that someone died for some reason, and they had a magical body. That body, the first thing that happened there, that person died from a disease, right? They were infected with something, and they died from that disease. That disease, instead of rotting away and dying as soon as they started consuming the magical essence of the person, adapted. And since diseases are single-cell organisms, it kind of mutated very quickly. And that body was diseased, which then in turn started being consumed by a carrion, or that of a semi-carrion, so it's like a rat or like a coyote or something like that. And then that in turn was consumed by a person. And that disease, that magical disease, have air magic mixed with this, or that disease. I don't want to say where the magic originated from. I think what matters the most is the fact that the body had magic in it that wasn't properly dispelled before death or before contamination. Like the cognitive essence wasn't able to expel the magic quick enough. I'm thinking of how this transferring may have an effect on the magic being created, as well as what is occurring within the rules, right? Because basically what I'm imagining here is that the disease almost immediately started mutating as soon as it started consuming the soul, not the soul, but the magic essence, because the cognitive essence wasn't able to transfer fast enough. Then the carrion started eating that, and then a thing ate the carrion, which then either it was a human or something then was consumed by a human, which then started the disease. And this is probably like a Neolithic human that ate this, right? This is not a proper society yet. This is before an awakening. This is before cultivation game. Well, but this is before cultivation properly finished his work. So I think if that's the case, it doesn't necessarily matter how the disease spreads. I don't think it is air, because if that's the case, there would be like no chance for societies to develop. I think it may have to be like saliva or contact that causes the No, okay, backing up a little bit. I'm gonna boogie back. Here's the idea. I'm standing up for this. This is how big the idea is. The idea is this. The body. So cultivation was there on this planet, on Forsaken, before we give the world a proper name. He seeded the world with life. That being human life, as well as like the things that humans like. Not really caring about any of the other animals that might be there. While this was happening, a world traveler, a transplant, came to the world, not knowing that cultivation was already there doing stuff. Probably was attracted or followed the path of cultivation. The person in question then died from a disease, probably from the planet itself. And then, because the person died from a disease from the planet, this disease then adapted to the magic essence of the person, who was a magical being. Doesn't matter where the magic came from, right? That being, that magic disease now that was eating away at the person was then picked up by an animal that started eating the corpse. That animal then was probably eaten by a human, or then started spreading, and then then one of those animals was eaten by a human. Not realizing that it was that when it made contact with an intelligent cognitive essence. And I imagine at this point, this is like a Bronze Age human, right? Kind of probably boosted by cultivation. Cultivation boogie, right? Not realizing that there was a contaminated magic thing. The Neolithic / Classical Era Awakening. Medical knowledge is not well known, meaning that more mythic understanding leads to combat it as in a rush to fight with fire. Expand on that a bit, if I may ask. Because I do want this to be like in like a Bronze Age society of some variety. Probably one that's a bit afraid to go outside due to like the contaminated magic outside. I imagine the if I may continue while you write, if I may continue to expand on what my thoughts are for the contaminated magic, basically there's a couple effects that occur. This magic changes the way people think, and that is because of the disease. The disease itself. It makes people want to spread the disease. And in doing so, the magic is... Oh, no, here's an idea for the contaminated disease. The magic isn't coming from the person. The magic is being... Like, the magic is a parasite effect. Right? Possibly come imbue contaminated essence as they do affected. Thus they can go... Oh, so it's almost complementary then. It's complementary, but in a fighting way. Oh, weird. Okay, interesting. So my idea, I've been sick for the past couple days and I'm quickly losing my voice. I may need to put a pin in this soon. My idea, they become the thing they fight. That's kind of okay. I kind of like that idea. So my idea for the contaminated part is that the magic that is used by an infected individual is probably very simplistic. Right? It probably doesn't have many I would say magical effects to it. Like, you can't really do any magic with it. It's probably just like a lot of like enhancement magic, right? Man, my voice is quickly going down the shitter. What I imagine occurs is that man, I got the contamination magic, I guess. What I imagine occurs is that the magic isn't coming from the person themselves, right? The magic is actually coming from the disease that the person has, right? And then they, almost like a parasite, are able to leech that magic off of the disease and use that magic in order to advance the magic's goals. Like, not the goal, but the disease's goals, which is to spread. So that explains why they would need to recharge by eating like fresh stuff. Because when they eat fresh stuff, they are basically like reinvigorating their soul as much as they can, so that the disease stops eating away at their soul and instead eats away at this fresh soul, which invigorates the magic and invigorates in turn the person that's infected. Fresh as in probably freshly dead. Like, not living, like they probably aren't eating like a worm off the ground. It probably can still be like it could probably, like, it basically needs to be warm still, if that makes sense. Like, it needs to be like a living, it needs to be freshly killed, if not living. And that probably results in some magic effects as they like leech the magic off of this disease. And then the awakened magic, I think, is incompatible. So with the awakened magic, we have to answer two questions. It is going to be it's going to have to either be a complementary or incompatible magic. So it either needs to complement the infection in some way, or it needs to just try to eradicate the infection entirely. That being said, I'm going to write down like almost like a living zombie. I'm thinking a little bit. It's a little bit like I Am Legend in that fashion. Here, let me write down the summary of the world. Summary of the world. The Forsaken, a world that was visited recently during the work of a transplant arrived on world following the path of cultivation, as well as seeing of intelligence, and with the rest of intelligent cognitive elements. They, or the trans, and unfortunately perished due to a large magical world and the red first from small animal some point after left. The disease began to spread rapidly. The magical disease change, perception, affected, and in turn the affected magical abilities, magical off from the now recently tries to in order to combat the disease hopes of life. There we go. That is current thought process. I'm thinking this is where I have to end the stream. As you can hear, my throat has quickly given the ghost. That being said, I enjoy the streaming. I think probably talk about this more on the Discord. And in case you haven't joined Sir Balto, and hang out with those other cool VTubers, talk about world building. And yeah, with that, call the stream here. Let's see if anyone's online. There's a lot of people online right now. Let's read. I like this. Well, I'm gonna rate the person first. Thank you all so much for coming. We'll see how my voice is tomorrow, and then we may or may not how bad my voice is. I'll see you all, gamers. Bye.